Hello viewers, nice to see you again and thank you for staying with Africanews. This is Football Planet, your favorite show dedicated to African and world football news on your Pan-African channel. Here are our top stories. It was an interesting CAF Cup playoff on Sunday. The verdict is expected within a week. We'll know who's qualified for the group stage, but first, find all the results of the first leg matches on the show. Morocco is angry at FIFA. The Cherifian Kingdom criticizes the World Football Governing Body for changing selection criteria for the host nation of the 2026 World Cup at the 11th hour. And later, we head to Sudan to meet Salman Al-Majidi, female coach of a men's football team. She's the first in an Arab world. These are more exciting news right ahead on Football Planet. Stay with us. Hello everyone. Which teams have qualified for the CAF Cup group stage? There's still a suspense, even if some teams seem to have done the most after the first set of playoffs. The return leg promises to be exciting as the first. Here's a look at the first leg results table.
We will
return to all the details of the return leg, but let me remind you of the quarter-finals of the European Champions League on Tuesday and Wednesday, with 4 attractive fixtures, as you can see on this table. Let's now talk about this year's African Women Cup of Nations in Ghana. The first teams to qualify for the second round of the qualifiers were announced last Sunday, pending the start of the big teams. The list will be completed this Tuesday, as teams like Ethiopia have already done played in a suspense. Here are results and continuation of the program. And also, the double confrontation between Mali and Sierra Leone has been cancelled. I remind you that the Women's CAN is scheduled from November the 15th to December the 1st. As I said early on, a few weeks after submitting its bid to host the 2026 World Cup, Morocco has accused FIFA of not being transparent. The Cherifian Kingdom also criticized FIFA for having introduced new criteria in the selection process at the 11th hour, and this has infuriated the Moroccan Football Federation. Here's Amel Nkeinga and Victor Mouiche.
Morocco has condemned the last-minute change in FIFA scoring system for the 2026 World Cup host bid as an unfair attempt to favor the joint North American bid. In a letter to FIFA chief Gianni Infantino, the head of Morocco's Football Association, Fawzi Lekja, blasted the scoring criteria for changing only 24 hours before Morocco submitted its bid. FIFA added previously undisclosed changes to the eligibility criteria in the final hours before the deadline for bid books to be handed over. This new criteria will prove difficult for Morocco, particularly with regard to demands such as guaranteeing that host cities have a population of at least 250,000, minimum airport capacity of 60 million passengers a year, and a maximum 90-minute distance between the airport and the host city.
And be reminded that Morocco is competing with the Canada, USA, Mexico trio, and the winner will be chosen on the sidelines of the next World Cup. It is a hard blow for Tunisia, which will have to do without a star player, Youssef Msakni. The midfielder suffered knee injury. Still staying on the World Cup a bit more, and Japan has announced the dismissal of its coach, Vahid Halilovic. The Bosnian coach was dismissed by the Japanese Football Association, which confirmed the information on Monday. This is certainly not good news 2 months to the World Cup. Russia is actively preparing for the World Cup. Here in Sochi, a rescue exercise to reassure patrons about the country's preparedness to respond to emergency situations in the stadium has been held. A report by Guy Roderick Louis and Michael Odwo.
Russian emergency services staged a rescue drill at Sochi's World Cup Stadium on Thursday and afterwards declared themselves fully ready to cope at the tournament. The FIS Stadium has 48,000 capacity and will stage 6 World Cup matches, beginning with Portugal versus Spain on June 15 and ending with the quarter-final on July 7. The drill simulated a fire with injured people being helped from the scene, while others jumped from windows onto inflatable platforms, slid down ropes and climbed down ladders. In all, about 200 people took part in the drill. Also, about 30 vehicles were involved. The aims of the drill were achieved. I repeat it once again, we are fully ready to provide security during the Football World Cup in Sochi. Russia will host the World Cup final this year in 12 venues spread across 11 cities, including Moscow, St. Petersburg, Sochi, and Kazan. World Cup is set to begin in June 14 this year.
Let's head to Sudan, where a lady has succeeded in breaking the taboo. Nadia coaches a men's team, a first in the Arab world. Nassis Indubi and Elvis Bo report.
Salma Al-Majidi has broken all taboos to become the first woman to coach male football players in Sudan. Today at the helm of Al-Ali in Al-Gadarel, east of Khartoum, the Sudanese capital, she fights daily to win the respect of men in this domain. Men in Sudan think the role of women is to stay at home and take care of the household. There was this boy in my team who refused to have a woman in the field giving orders. He took it personal. That is how he was raised. Thanks to Salma's perseverance, mentalities are changing in Sudan, although female football is yet to be developed. People on the street criticize that, saying all the time that the woman was training us, but they don't understand that the world is changing, and so is football. A woman is even a referee in the English league. There is nothing wrong with a woman being a coach. You get her advice and you respect them. Now 27 years old, Salma Al-Majidi is presented by FIFA as the first woman to be in control of a male team in the Arab world. She is the second woman to be popular in Sudanese football after Munira Ramadan, who was a referee in the 1970s.
And from Sudan to Libya, it may soon be the return of international matches at home. It is a hope expressed by FIFA delegation to that country. FIFA wants to ensure that all the conditions are met to lift the sanction that has hit the country since the beginning of the crisis in 2011. Jean-David Mihamble and Eric Otain have more.
A FIFA delegation led by Veremosengo Omba, the director of African and Caribbean member associations, is in Libya to discuss how football has developed since a ban on hosting international matches was imposed. The Federation of International Football Association, FIFA, banned the North African nation from hosting matches, citing the insecurity and turmoil that followed the 2011 civil war. The Libyan Football Association hopes the visit will help bring back the hosting of international matches.
So my presence here is the kickoff of the process to see how to bring international football matches in Libya.
This visit is of course very important. It is part of the growing interest for local football. which will culminate in the lifting of the ban in Libyan stadiums. Libyan clubs have had to use neutral venues to host their matches, while the national team has also played home World Cup and Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers in Mali, Egypt and Tunisia over the last 5 years. The FIFA delegation has so far been impressed by Libya's determination to play football despite the difficulties facing the country. Despite a domestic league that has occasionally been interrupted by periods of insecurity, Libya qualified for the 2012 Africa Cup of Nations, won the 2014 CHAN tournament and finished third in their 2018 World Cup qualifying group.
Now to some brief updates before we end the program. We begin with the crowning of Esperance of Tunis in the championship on Sunday. It was the 28th title won with 3 games to go before the end of the championship. Also, the first game began with Bayern Munich's triumph in Germany on Saturday, following their 4-1 win over Augsburg.
C'est le 28e titre des Bavarois en Bundesliga.
It is the 28th title of the Bavarians and the 6th consecutive. United delayed the City coronation after their defeat by rivals on Saturday in a Manchester derby. It was a 3-2 victory at the close of the game. And that's how we wrap up on this program. You can find the show on Africanews.com. Also, you can interact with us via the addresses currently displayed on your screen. Football Planet returns next week, same time, same channel, Africa News. Goodbye.
Au revoir.